guys, my name is Vanessa Smedley and I am a painter. Today we're going to be working on an abstract landscape and I'm going to be using watercolor ink in kind of an unconventional manner. I'm just going to put the watercolor ink on the paper first and then activate it with water later and let the paint swirl and mix on the paper. It's going to be a lot of fun, kind of spontaneous, and going to have no plan going into it, so it could be very interesting. Okay, let's do this. Okay, so let's get started. What we have today is we're going to be messing with some watercolor ink, just playing with it and having some fun. I don't start with a plan in mind, I just start putting ink on the paper with kind of just a generalized idea of an abstract landscape, and then I go for it. So I have a few of the Daler Rowney Aquafine watercolor ink pots here. They don't tend to always be in stock at my local art supply store, so I don't have as many of those as I do the Artist's Loft. For paper, I have Arches, 140-pound cold pressed. This tends to be the gold standard for a lot of watercolor paper. People love this stuff. And then I have a big hockey brush for spreading the ink around whenever we add water to it. We have a couple of brushes here on the side for in case we need them. This is an Aqua Elite Princeton number 8. That is a synthetic brush. All of my brushes are synthetic. This is an Aqua Elite Princeton number 12 round. This is a Princeton Velvet Touch 3/4 of an inch flat, just in case. I have a big spray bottle and a little pot of salt, and just in case I want to throw that in there to get some texture. I think we're going to go for kind of a springtime type thing, so let's start out with some green. And I'm just going to do this in like just streaks of color for right now, and you'll see the magic happen later. Grab some purple. I think let's go blue. Kind of doing it in this type of pattern to see if I can get kind of a cloud-like upward swoop in that. And I actually think I would like to add sort of a stream in here this time. See if we can add some kind of tree type situation in there. This could end up being like a bush. I really just make this up as I go along, to be honest with you. Okay. I think that might be enough for this one. Maybe a little bit of yellow right here. A couple of places to add just a little bit of contrast. Okay, so this is when the magic happens. So I take my hockey brush. This is a Winsor & Newton, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that. And I get a whole bunch of water. And just, there it goes. It's already dripped. But that's totally fine with this kind of painting. We're just gonna let it go. You just add water where you want it to spread and just watch it roll. And it is a whole lot of fun to just sit there and watch it do its thing. I mean, to me it is. Maybe this is not your thing, but to me this is a super relaxing thing to do. Just like to sit and watch the paint mix and do its thing. But as it kind of goes along, I like to, if you start to see like these big pools of water gathering, especially towards the edge, I like to try to kind of like take some shop towel, which is awesome for absorbing paint, and just dab it back a bit, because otherwise it's going to make those awful cauliflowers that and run backs, whatever you want to call them, that we watercolor artists do not like so much. It kind of makes an ugly pattern unless you really, you know, unless that's the type of pattern that you're looking for. So we just keep adding our water in here, letting it do its thing. You know, I kind of try to strategically place some of these brush strokes too, because I don't want it to just all run together into this just big mess, you know, because then it's not attractive for anybody. But it's so fun to just let it flow, let it do what it's gonna do. And then, you know, you get points where you have your water running into your grass or into your trees or whatever you're doing here, and it doesn't really matter, you know, as long as it looks pretty cool. I don't mind it, you know, because this is an abstract landscape. It's not meant to be representational in any way. Okay, I'm gonna grab some of this water out of the edge, because I can see that making an absolute mess out of that. Okay. All right, now let's keep going. Let's just add this. Get that water going down in here for your little spring or stream or whatever this is. Happy little trees, if you will. Just kidding, there's not a tree in it. I flipped into Bob Ross mode there. You can expect that to happen from time to time. I mean, doesn't it all? Okay, doesn't it happen to us all? I mean, I feel like he's in the background of every artist's mind sometimes. We have kind of a nice little thing going on here, but what I want to do is start adding in some other colors and some other detail. Like maybe add a little bit of brown right here to where it can be kind of like a tree line. A little bit of that here and there. Oh, we just got like a big flowing area of that accidentally, but you know, sometimes that kind of stuff happens. You just want to add a little bit of brown here and there to supplement this, because you don't want it to just be this one random place where you have brown in the rest of the thing. And to get this moving again a little bit, I'm going to use this little spray bottle here, which kind of makes a little bit of a cool pattern on some of the areas that it touches. I'm going to add some more dark green. Just a little bit area of interest. I really just make this up as I go along. I don't tend to have any plan, and sometimes that ends up being not so great of a thing, because you can do something and be like, why did I just do that, and rent the whole thing, you know. But it also just lends kind of a, you know, spontaneous aspect to these things, and I tend to like it. You know, and you have the sky coming down into the mountains and stuff like that, but I just don't mind that with this kind of painting. I honestly feel like it adds to the coolness of it. It gives it kind of almost like a psychedelic type, you know, feel to it. I just want to get these puddles out of the way. I feel like that puddle right in the middle is going to cause me a bit of an issue, so I'm going to go for that one too. I don't want to muddy all those colors together. At least I don't. I think I am going to put in a few pieces of salt. Do this sparingly because you don't want it to just go insane and suck up all the paint, because that's what it does. The salt will draw the paint to it and kind of suck it up, and it'll leave these little blooming patterns in here that can be kind of cool. And you never know exactly how it's going to turn out until you do it, or until you see it dry. So I'm just going to leave those in there like that, here and there, a little bit of a pattern. You don't want it to be everywhere either, so I think that's good enough. Maybe we could put some wildflowers in a couple of little areas. And I'm actually going to use a brush for this because I don't want them to be as big as the tip of this. So I'm going to take my number 8 round brush here. I'm going to dip it in there, get off the excess because that's a lot of paint. Not sure what you can see there. I don't know how well it's on the camera, but anyway. And then I'm just going to tap in some purple little wildflowers, just so that the purple is not up there by itself. You know, I feel like that's kind of you just need to have a little bit more harmony with your colors and not have, you know, it just sitting up there by itself. I feel like maybe that's not a thing. I don't know. It could just be one of my idiosyncrasies, the way that I go. A little bit more there. Maybe a little here. You know, because, you know, if you look at a wide field, sometimes you have these little patches of this stuff everywhere. These little purple flowers that, you know, and I'm doing it smaller in the distance too, so that it's got like a little bit of a sense of distance, you know. That may have been overkill, but we're gonna go with it. We're gonna leave it just like that. Wash out the brush so that it doesn't get dry here, because it's the only brush I've used so far besides my Hake. I think that may be it. I'm just gonna let it dry, and then we'll come back to it and see what we have. Okay, we've come back to this now that it is dry, and you know, as you can see, it's dried a little bit lighter in some places, but it's not really dried back too light. Here you can see some of the pattern that the salt has left here and there. I think the reason it's not super obvious is because I had sprayed some more water over the top of it, and sometimes that tends to dissolve the salt to the point where it doesn't have much effect. But in the places that you can see it, I really like what it's done. And there you have it. That is what it looks like with the tape off. I always like to try to use tape on that to try to give it a nice clean border. I think that makes it a little fresher. And also, I actually taped this down to an 11 by 14, which is a standard size. I tend to like to do that so that people can very easily frame it rather than having to spend $200 on getting a frame. They can just go to their local craft store and pick up a pre-made frame and or mat and make it look nice without spending a ton of money. So this one's an 11 by 14. And there you go. That's our spontaneous mountain abstract thing with wildflowers. All right, so there you go. There you have it. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed doing it. And if you liked the video, please give it a like. Please give us a subscribe. It really does help to grow this channel, and we will see you next time. Thanks.